I have run Kestrel Relay alone for 6 years, and in 6 years, I have learned exactly how long it takes ice to grow across a frost glass viewport if you don't scrape it. About 4 hours, on long night, when the storm comes down off the ridge like something that's been waiting all year for permission. Long night is the shortest day on this moon, and the worst one for the corridor. The storm shield over the descent lane thins out to nothing for 6 minutes at local noon, twice a year, and every shuttle inbound has to thread that gap or wait a season for the next one. I used to run that gap with a crew of 4. Now I run it with a kettle, a logbook, and a comm panel I keep muted except for the automated traffic pings. I mute it because 6 years ago, I ran the gap wrong. Not badly, wrong. I sealed the shield 11 seconds early, on a read I was sure of, and a supply hauler that should have cleared came apart against a shield edge it should never have touched. Nobody died. I want to say that plainly, because it's the truth, and because people always assume otherwise. Nobody died. But the hauler's crew spent 4 days on emergency rations before a rescue tug found them, and every one of them filed a report. And every report said the same word about me: premature. I read that word so many times it stopped looking like English. After that, I asked for the loneliest posting in the sector and got it. Kestrel Relay doesn't get visitors. That's the appeal. The tower sits on a ridge above the descent lane, all frost glass and cold metal, and most days the light through that glass is the pale flat white you get on a moon, with a thin sky and a distant sun, bright enough to read by, too weak to warm anything. I like it that way. Bright and empty asks nothing of you. I keep the place running the way you'd keep a machine running that you don't trust yourself around anymore. Logbook filled in by hand, not by voice, because my voice doesn't get much practice. Kettle on at the same 2 times every day. Traffic pings answered by an automated string of characters that never once has to sound like a person. I tell myself it's discipline. 6 years in, I've stopped pretending that's the whole truth. This long night, the storm came in 3 hours ahead of the forecast, which happens maybe once a decade, and it swallowed the descent lane whole before the noon gap even opened. I watched it happen on the board. The corridor reading dropped from clear to collapsing in under a minute. Red bars climbing the display like something being poured. And I did what I always do. I logged it. I waited for the shield to auto-reseal, the way it's supposed to, the way it's done every single time since the hauler. Then the comm panel lit up on a channel I hadn't heard chime in 6 years. Not automated traffic. A live voice. Relay. This is passenger transport A16. We are inside your corridor, and we are not going to make the gap. I sat very still for a second. Then I unmuted. A16, Kestrel Relay. Say your position. The voice that answered wasn't the pilot. It was smaller, younger, and steadier than it had any right to be. The pilot's hands are full. I'm EO. I'm 8. He said to talk to you, and not stop talking, so, hello? I want to describe what that did to me. 6 years of silence broken by a kid saying hello like it was nothing, but I don't have the words that would do it justice, so I'll just tell you what I did, which was pull up the shield readout and see the truth of it. Auto-reseal was already running, 4 minutes on the clock. The shuttle was still 11 kilometers short of the safe shelf, crawling through crosswinds that were eating its fuel margin by the second. It would not clear in 4 minutes. It would not clear in 4 minutes even if the pilot flew it perfectly, because the storm had already taken that option off the table. There was a manual override. There always had been. It let you run the reseal sequence by hand instead of on automatic, and if you were fast enough and precise enough, you could shave real time off the auto clock, because the automatic system builds in margin for an operator who might be looking away, might be slow, might not be paying attention at all. I had run it exactly once in my life, in training, 9 years ago, under no pressure and no weather, and it had taken me almost 6 minutes because my hands weren't fast enough yet, and my instructor had written on my evaluation that I was thorough but not quick, and I had been relieved, at the time, that quick wasn't the job. It was the job now. 4 minutes on the automatic clock, and the shuttle's fuel margin bleeding out faster than that, and 11 kilometers of storm between it and anywhere safe. The manual panel had a cover I hadn't lifted since the day I was certified on it. My hand found the catch anyway. EO, I said, I need you to keep talking to me. Can you count for me? Slow. Out loud. Count what? Just count. It helps me work. She started at 1. I opened the manual panel. 4 toggles, a rotation lock, and a single hard lever that has to come down at the exact moment the 4th toggle clears, or the whole sequence kicks back to automatic and you lose everything you've gained. My hands remembered the shape of it before my head did. Toggle 1. EO was at 9, toggle 2, and the rotation lock spun up under my palm, cold enough to sting. EO said, 18, 19, and somewhere behind her voice, I could hear the pilot swearing quietly at instruments I couldn't see. Toggle 3. The clock on the board read 2 minutes 40, and dropping. You're good at counting, I told her, mostly to hear my own voice do something other than shake. I used to count for my brother when he couldn't sleep. He said it was boring. I told him boring was the point. 31, 32, Io said, and then, without changing her tone at all, are you scared? I nearly missed the 4th toggle answering her. A little, I said, which was true, and which was the first true thing I'd said to another person in longer than I wanted to admit. That's fine. My brother's scared of the dark and he still falls asleep. Being scared isn't the same as not doing the thing. I don't know where an 8-year-old gets a line like that, or whether she'd heard it from someone else and was just repeating it back to me at the exact moment I needed to hear it, and it doesn't matter. Toggle 4 cleared at 1 minute 9 seconds. I brought the lever down. It's a strange thing, muscle memory. I hadn't touched that panel in 9 years, and my hands did it in under 2 minutes flat, half the clock the automatic system needed, half the clock I'd needed in training with nothing on the line. The shield reading on the board flickered, steadied, and opened a hole in the storm precisely where the shuttle needed one to be, 4 minutes early by the automatic reckoning, and 2 minutes by mine. AWIN 6, you have clearance. Take it now. Copy relay, copy taking it, and then the pilot's voice dropped away into the business of flying, and it was just EO again, still counting, up in the 80s now, until she said, wait, are we through? Did we make it? I watched the shuttle's transponder cross the safe shelf on the board, clean, and something in my chest let go that had been held tight for 6 years. You made it. Both of you did fine counting. That's because I've had practice, she said, entirely serious. And I laughed, actually laughed, out loud, alone in a tower on a frozen moon, for the first time since before the word premature had ever been written about me. She stayed on the channel a little longer than she needed to, telling me about her brother's terrible taste in bedtime stories, and I let her, because I didn't want to be the one who cut it short again. After the shuttle cleared for its ground approach, and the channel finally went quiet, I sat with my hand still on that cold lever for a long moment. Then I did something I hadn't done in 6 years. I opened the wider relay channel, the one that carries to every tower on the ridge, the one I'd kept dark on purpose, and I logged the reseal. Plainly, the way it actually happened. Manual override. Sequence complete at 1 minute 9 seconds. Corridor secured with time to spare. Then, because there was nobody telling me to, I left the channel open. It's still open now. It's quiet out here most days, but it isn't muted anymore, and some evenings, since long night, it clicks and somebody says hello, and I say it back.